to the Mischief Maker broadcast, where chaos, creativity, and common sense collide. Your host, Joel Freeman, was kicked out of high school in Alberta, Canada. He left home at 17 and hitchhiked around North America as a long-haired hippie and dope-smoking fool. He made a 180-degree change, becoming one of the first chaplains in the history of the NBA. As a professional speaker, Joel has traveled to well over 55 countries. His many books have been published in 28 foreign translations. Pieces from his Black History collection have been seen by millions at the United Nations and many other venues. And now, the Chief Mischief Maker himself, Dr. Joel A. Freeman.
Hey guys, it's Bigger Baby Joel here. Guess what? I'm learning to read. I went into a bookstore recently and I asked the saleswoman, "Where's the self-help section?" She said, "If I told you, it would defeat the purpose, wouldn't it?" Well, there's Bigger Baby Joel, and he's telling the truth again and unfiltered. So we got a great show planned for this evening. We have someone by the name of A.J. Ali is going to be on with us, which is I just got something here that I wanted to show you. This is a belt that I designed. And if you want one of these, I can tell you later how you can get a hold of it. But this is the Jack Johnson heavyweight champion of the world. The belt we were putting together, and it's available right now. And it's numbered. We only have 700 for the entire world. So go to jackjohnsonbelt.com. That's jackjohnsonbelt.com. And if you can't remember that, just go to the QR code above, and there's a link tree that'll take you to all kinds of things to learn about the Mischief Maker show. In fact, if you want to know what the definition is of a mischief maker and want to become one yourself, then what can happen is you can learn about the definition of mischief maker. My camera does some really weird stuff when I make gestures, so I'm going to go like this to tell it to stop, and we'll see if that works. So right now, we've got A.J. Ali. He's going to be coming in just a short while. Let me tell you a little bit about him. He's been in the armed services. He's traveled a lot of places around the world. And something that we connected on, I co-authored this particular book right here called Black History 365 with Dr. Walter Milton. And I invited AJ to write a piece called Walking While Black. Now, this came out just after we had quite a situation in our country, in the United States. Now, some of you may not have heard about it, but in other parts of the world. But we had a situation where there was quite a lot of fervor around police and community relationships. And George Floyd was the name of the gentleman. And if you've not heard of that, then maybe we'll learn more about that this evening. And so he wrote this piece, Walking While Black, and then created a book called Love is the Answer, L.O.V.E., which is an acronym which he's going to share. Plus, when I saw, he created a film, which I think is the finest film on this particular topic. He doesn't blink when it comes to dealing with the issues and the truth, and yet he brings it around to an incredible solution, I believe, in this area of community and police relationships. So anyway, I watched the Baltimore premiere screening of that film at a friend of mine's a place, and I watched young Black men watch the film, and that's what convinced me. I went up and talked to some young Black men afterwards, and I could tell this was having quite an impact on their lives. So anyway, we're going to meet him in a few moments. We're going to play a song. This song came about it's called Hurricane Bigotry. And it's a blues song. I'm a huge fan of blues. I know this is a jazz station, but I love blues. For some reason, I'm a sucker for blues. If I'm in anywhere in the world and there's someone on the street corner, a busker singing blues, my wife will go off to all kinds of sites and I'll say, I'll be here. 4 hours later, she'll come back. I'm at that same spot. I'm watching the psychology of what causes people to slow down, what causes them to put $1 or $2 in the guitar case. And all of that is so fascinating. And then the music, the raw words, the lyrics, the just being out there with the elements, the sun, the clouds, whatever it is going on. All of that is so fascinating to me. So this particular song is called Hurricane Bigotry. And the reason why it's called Hurricane Bigotry is because, as we know, for those of us who use miles per hour, any wind at a sustained speed of 75 miles per hour gets a name. And I call the name of this wind bigotry. And so, Mel, let's take a listen to that song.
10 years of age, a young black man heard the words that sting. As years passed, he leaned into the wind like Howlin' Wolf and B.B. King. Different rules apply based on skin. A broken world, where do we begin? Life's lens altered, a new reality found. Injustice and prejudice seemed all around. Yet he chose to rise amidst the storm's roar, finding strength within like never before. Hurricane bigotry swirling so strong, even with God it's tough, where do we belong? Category 5 with its force unyielding, but he stood tall against the winds revealing. Like Katrina's fury, with its wrath untamed, he faced adversity, yet remained unchained. Like Andrew's power, destructive and fierce, but his spirit endured, never to pierce. Through the years he learned to navigate the tempest of bias, fueled by hate. Leaning into the wind with steadfast grace, his equilibrium intact in life's race. In the eye of the storm he found the truth, resilience and hope his guiding sleuth. Hurricane bigotry may rage and shout, but his spirit endures, there's no doubt. Hurricane bigotry swirling so strong, even with God it's tough, where do we belong? Category 5 with its force unyielding, but he stood tall against the winds revealing. Hurricane bigotry swirling so strong, even with God it's tough, where do we belong? Category 5 with its force unyielding, but he stood tall against the winds revealing. Against the winds revealing.
Well, there it is, Hurricane Bigotry. And the lyrics are, they're in this booklet I wrote called Hurricane Bigotry. And I have where you can actually hear the song, read the lyrics, and then the story behind the song that I think that is very compelling. I'm not going to tell the story here because you can order the book off Amazon, eBay, wherever books are sold. It's available. And it's a song that really stirred within me the desire to provide a metaphor for people who are experiencing hurricane bigotry. And this transcends race. It gets into age, weight, all kinds of different things, lack of education. There are all kinds of ways that people feel hurricane winds. And of course, in different parts of the world, it's experienced in different ways. If you're a Roma or what's known as a gypsy in Scandinavia or Europe, an Aboriginal in Australia, Korean in Japan, and we could go on in different parts of the world. So there's a lot of pain out there. And let's invite AJ on right now. And AJ, where are you? Come on in.
Joel. Hey.
AJ, I remember the first time we met. I think it was at a event in Maryland,
Yes.
at a hotel event. And I just, for the first time I met you, I thought there's something wonderful and unique about this individual. I want to get to know him better.
I felt the same way.
And over the years, I think we've connected on a deeper level, and it's just a joy to have you here. Can you kind of hitchhike off of the lyrics and the music and the concept of hurricane bigotry, and let's make a segue into what your life's mission is all about?
Absolutely, man. I've felt those winds. You know, I'm 61 years old, and I've been battling those winds for as long as I can remember. And when you wrote the piece, Hurricane Bigotry, the chapter in My Love is the Answer book, it really stood out to me as one of the more powerful chapters in the book because, you nailed it. You nailed it. There is this headwind that we're fighting. And you mentioned the eye of the storm. And, that eye is an uncomfortable rest because when it's there, we know it's not going to last.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So kind of paint a picture here of we have this movie you've created, a film called Walking While Black. That in itself is a pretty interesting title because we've heard of shopping while black, driving while black. And you brought it into a whole nother realm of walking while black. Just kind of go back in your life without going straight into walking while black. Sure. Give us kind of the beginning. What was the first time when you realized that because of the color of your skin that the rules were somehow different for you? Do you remember that?
I do. I was very young, less than 10 years old. And, it was something that was said to a relative. I'm not going to repeat what that person said, but I saw how it made my older relative feel. And I knew that, first of all, it wasn't very nice. I didn't quite understand what that word meant until it was explained to me later. Few years later. And, we all know what that word is, that word that should go away. So that's my earliest recollection of feeling the sting of racism. And since then, there have been literally thousands, some overt and most, microaggressions. Death by 1,000 cuts, as they say. The first time that I was stopped by police was when I was 16 years old. And I was driving my very first car, 1974 Camaro, handed down from my mother. And I was driving under the speed limit and in between the lines, and I wasn't swerving. There was no loud music, and I was a military police officer on Fort Meade that pulled me over and said I was near the center line. That was his reason for pulling me over. He said, near the center line. I wasn't over it. I was near it. And I just had a conversation with him on the side of the road about, how close can I get to the center line before it becomes illegal. And he knew that I knew a little bit about the law, and he let me go, and he gave me a warning. I didn't do anything wrong, but he gave me a warning, and I said, yes, sir, thank you, and have a nice day. And I was able to get out of that. But that was the first time that I knew that I'd been stopped for driving while black, 16 years old.
So, by the way, folks, if you're watching this, one of the benefits of being on with us live is that you get the opportunity to ask questions. Folks who get this in the podcast format, they only get what they get. And so above us, or I guess at any time, you can, of course, we have the QR code to the link tree to chiefmischiefmaker.com, but also you can ask questions. So as you're listening to what AJ is talking about, and it awakens something inside of you, as long as it's germane to our topic, we will entertain it, and AJ will respond to it. If I'm missing something in the questions I'm asking, just be a friend. Come in there and help to fill in those gaps that I'm missing. So AJ, now when you first experienced this, what age were you again with the relative?
I was under 10.
Under 10.
Under 10. Yeah.
It's like 9.5 or something like that. And so what began to happen? I mean, if we use the metaphor of the wind, did you feel like you started becoming like, oh, what's that all about? What's that about? Did you start looking underneath the surface? What's behind the words? What was going on inside of you at that age?
Yeah, it wasn't too long after that I wound up hearing the talk. And the talk in a black family, it's not about the birds and the bees. In America, it's about what do you do when you get stopped by the police? And it's not an if, it's a when. And that was in my great aunt Ludi's living room. And I remember sitting on a step and listening to the older folks talking about this topic. They really weren't having the conversation for me, but I was in the room. And, maybe they thought I was not ready for it, but it sunk in that I was going to be in for some things that some of my little white friends didn't have to deal with. That's when reality started to set in for me that life was going to be a little bit different for me.
And how did you cope? I mean, were there certain things that you're trying harder? How did you retain a sense of humor? How did you let's say, the whole victim mentality would pull one down? How did you fight and deal and address those different aspects?
Well, I definitely became a class clown. I was vying for the class clown. I think there were one or two other folks who maybe got that crown, but I was always masking my pain. It was a great song called Tears of a Clown. Some of you may have heard that song. Mm-hmm. Well, that was me. Mm-hmm. That was me. That song resonated with me when I was a little kid because I recognized that I was just masking so much with humor and silliness and deflecting my emotions because I didn't want to deal with them. And that you can only do that for so long, Eventually, I wound up becoming a little more serious about these subjects, and it led me down the path of activism that I've been on for a long, long time. But I did develop a pretty good sense of humor. I can find the humor in just about anything, and that has helped me quite a bit. Quite a bit. It's no surprise that most top-notch comedians have experienced a lot of pain. Yeah.
It's like someone who's an EMT, a doctor, a police officer. They deal with a lot of different types of situations and sometimes develop a dark sense of humor that is
Right.
not appreciated by many other people. Speak to that if there's any relevance there.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, just the other day. I don't know if I should say this or not. Yeah, I guess I will. What the heck? Just the other day, we were filming a TV episode, and it was a beautiful scene of after we had shot several times of this particular topic of a teacher who had been gifted something wonderful, a car from his community. And this show that we're launching featured the community coming together, and this nonprofit had gotten an individual to donate their car, and the nonprofit fixed it up, and they painstakingly made it beautiful. And so we captured that moment of that young teacher, 31-year-old teacher, who was the most beloved teacher in his school. He's since moved on to another school, but this school that he was at that decided to honor him and give him this going away present. We did a surprise at that school, and it was beautiful. We had about 100 people out there representing probably 20 or 25 different organizations that had come together to honor teachers that day. And then we surprised him with this vehicle. And so we did that. And then about a week later, he went to the shop, and they had it all ready for him. And we shot some more videos there, and his family was there. And then he decided to get in the car and do the whole wave and drive off thing. Right. And we're ready for that. And we're getting ready for the shot. And he's going to the end of the road. He looks right, he looks left, and then he puts on the blinker and he turns out. And dark comedy, I had this thought of, oh my goodness, as I'm filming this, what if he's smiling and going into the road and a tractor trailer just takes him out?
Oh no.
I thought for a second, well, first of all, I did think that would be really, really sad. But then the sick comedy thing kicked in, and I'm like, that would be really great footage. And so I had a laugh about it with my crew. But I don't ever want to have anything like that happen. But yes, I can see where dark comedy can come into play.
Well, it's I know I have
Don't judge me. Don't judge.
I have a twisted sense of humor, and maybe there's a few others out there. It might be part of being a mischief maker. I don't know. You got to have some kind of wacky, off the wall sense of humor, but. Hopefully he didn't get hit by a tractor trailer, right?
No, it was
address that?
It was all roses and dandelions. He drove off into the sunset. It was beautiful. I think a deer might have ran across the road, Bambi with little white spots. Everything was good.
So you have, at 16 was your first traffic stop. Couple that with any other traffic stops you had, along with, let's say, the talk that your parents had with you about what to do, not if, but when stopped, as you mentioned. Yeah. What would you say to anyone who is watching this, first as a parent, what to say to their child, or someone, a young kid, let's say, who's watching this? What would you say to them?
First and foremost, be safe. Don't try to hold court with an officer on the side of the road. Just, yes, sir, or yes, ma'am. Very polite. Get out of there unharmed and get out of there as quickly as you can. Take the ticket, fight it in court, but don't try to argue with them on the side of the road. Also say, maybe even, be a little nicer than you normally would. Maybe crack a joke, maybe give a compliment. I've had times where an officer has come up to me and had a really, really bad attitude, and I was able to turn it around
Mm.
with a joke or with a compliment or with a reference to something familiar. Like the time I was stopped in Baltimore, and I made a comment about the Ravens and how good they looked
Mhm.
that last Sunday, and turns out, the odds were right. He was a Ravens fan, and he treated me a little bit better after that because we had found a sliver of
Mhm.
common ground that brought some humanity into the situation. So, I always say just, don't try to um, battle with a police officer on the side of the road. Just be as nice as you can. And sometimes, unfortunately, even that is not good enough, as we know, because we've all seen many instances where an officer will escalate a situation that shouldn't have been ramped up in the first place. But, hopefully, if you do everything the way you're supposed to, no sudden movements, don't reach for anything suddenly. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. Very polite, some humor. Hopefully you'll do your part in terms of trying to de-escalate something and turning it down a notch and just making it a simple transaction that you can then later fight in court if you didn't do anything wrong. Just be safe. Just get home safe. That's the number one thing.
And I've seen things where they have something where you can have your license insurance in a little bag or a
Mm-hmm.
little plastic thing and just put it
Yeah.
up outside the window. Have your window down this much, let's say, and just have it hanging there and say, "Here it is, sir, ma'am." Any thoughts on that? The effectiveness of that?
I think that's fine. I have my insurance card and my registration and my license handy so that I don't have to go searching for them. And I, put them right on the dash. I put my hands on the steering wheel, 10 and 2.
Hmm.
And, I just greet the officer and wait for instructions.
Yeah, because then you're not reaching, right, and
That's right.
causing concern out
Yeah.
there. W- when it comes to this, as you look back, uh, at what point did you begin to think about developing some kind of solution for this situation, especially after George Floyd
Yeah.
and so many inflamed emotions? I mean, we all have seen on TikTok, just scrolling through and just see all kinds of just terrible, terrible examples of
Yeah.
situations where people have been mishandled. Uh, what are some of the catalysts that got your mind germinating on protesting in the way that you protest?
Well, it was very simple. In June of 2012, I was going for a walk in my own community in Howard County, Maryland, and it was a beautiful, beautiful day. And I got, I was walking on the side of the road. I wasn't on the road. I was in the grass, and an officer drove by me. Didn't think anything of it. Then that same officer drove past the other way. Didn't think anything of it. And then he drove by a third time, and he pulled into a driveway, and I knew I was going to be in for something. And so that officer got out of his car, and he kind of did one of these numbers and said, "What are you doing here?" And I said, "I'm going for a walk, officer. It's a beautiful day. How's your day going?" And it went downhill quickly from there. He accused me of breaking into homes. And when I asked him a question about that, he threatened to arrest me. He wanted to search my bags. So he was violating several of my civil rights within the first 3 minutes of the encounter. And I started to ask him questions about those rights, and he got flustered, and he turned around finally, and he walked back to his car and sat in his car after this exchange. I said, "Officer, really, why did you stop me? Because I know and you know that I didn't do anything wrong." And he said, "We're stopping everyone who looks like they're not from this neighborhood."
Wow. Wow.
And I said, oh, okay. You just admitted that the only reason why you stopped me was because of the color of my skin. And he turned around and got back into his car and refused to get out of his own car. He was staring straight ahead. He was fuming. You know, in the cartoons, you probably see smoke coming out of his ears.
You're seeing smoke.
You know, he didn't know what to do at that point. And I'm standing there telling him, officer, if we're done here, I'm going to continue my walk. And I had to say that about 10 times because I wanted to make sure that he knew that I was not fleeing a scene that I figured, hey, you're in your car, not talking to me anymore. I guess we're done. I'm out. So have a nice day. I continue my walk. I call my attorney as soon as I start walking away because similar incident had happened a few months earlier while I was driving, leaving the mall in Columbia. And I got stopped by an officer, turned into 3 officers. And I got arrested on the side of the road. I was charged with all kinds of things I didn't do. I had to hire an attorney, and he made one phone call and got everything thrown out and got that officer reprimanded. So fast forward to 3 months later, this same thing is happening, except I'm not driving. I'm just going for a walk. And so as I leave, I call my attorney. I say, you wouldn't believe what just happened to me, man. And he said, just get out of there as quickly as you can. And here's the key. He said, I'll stay on the phone with you until I know you're safe. Now, this was privilege for me because I know that, you know, most people don't have the ability to call someone who's an attorney and just have them, you know, stay on the line with them. He was a friend, but he was also an attorney who I paid in the past to do some work for me about a similar case. So as I'm talking with him and he's reassuring me and comforting me because I'm upset, I'm mad, I'm scared, I'm frustrated. I've got all these emotions swirling around that hurricane bigotry, right? Now it's like it's a Hurricane 5, right? 3 police cars pull up, lights on, they get out of their car. It's the first guy and it's 2 other guys. And I could tell one of them was his boss.
AJ, I want you to hold on to this. I'm going to hear the rest of the story. We've got to take a break for our sponsor. And folks, when we come back, we're going to visit Adongo's question or comment. And Mel, you can take that down and bring it back up after the break. And then I want you to finish this story. So to set it up, how many cars came up?
3 cars.
Three more cars came up. Yeah. And we're going to hear more about the story. And then we're going to talk about what it's like to for AJ to come up with something that is a solution that takes a look through the lens of a police officer and then through the lens of the community. We're going to come back and ask some very tough questions. If love is the answer, what's the question? So Mel, let's go to our sponsor.
I know. I can't go anywhere without being recognized. I'm a dead ringer for the famous Rosetta Stone. As a celebrity lookalike performer, the Rosetta clone, I'm accustomed to awkward stares. Go ahead. Look closely at the letters and symbols engraved into my face. It's unmistakable. Ever wondered where that language software program got its name? From the Rosetta Stone, a 1,700-pound slab of rock with a lot of the same words etched into its face in 3 inscriptions about 2,200 years ago. Boy, that chiseling process must have been painful, like getting tattooed all over your cheeks. I guess it turned out okay, because that Egyptian rock ended up becoming a world-renowned language expert, helping Jean Champollion crack the code to hieroglyphics in 1822, which unlocked the mystical secrets of ancient Egypt. How's that for becoming famous? Well, being a rock star is also in my DNA, and fans are crazy about me. I create a buzz wherever I go, especially when performing songs like Are You Clonesome Tonight?, Tears of a Clone, or A Clone Again, naturally. You get the picture. How about bringing a celebrity impersonator like me to your organization? There are a select number of us willing to travel anywhere in the world and mesmerize audiences. There's no other way to say it. We translate into visitors.
Well, folks, you just saw an upside down ad from Rosetta Universe, and so you can come back, and, stand upright again, and we'll continue. But Rosetta Universe is all about the Rosetta Stone story, which is taking this ancient artifact and transforming it into a modern metaphor for problem solving. You can go up to the QR code at the top of your screen, and that'll take you to chiefmischiefmaker.com. It's 3 words, chiefmischiefmaker.com. And the very first point on the link tree is about the Rosetta Universe. Just take some time, go through that particular Rosetta Universe and see what kind of impact it has on you. Any ideas? We're wide open to hear about the Rosetta Universe, your thoughts. So we come back to the show. We're all right side up this time. And AJ, 3 police officers have just arrived. And what's going on in your head?
Before I get into that, the Rosetta Stone, since you do have to unlock some things in there, it was kind of cool that it was upside down. So it kind of goes with it. Got to decode it, right?
Hey, you know what? We're going to do that from now. No, I'm just kidding. Oh my.
Yeah. So 3 officers get out of their cars and they rush over to me, and I know I'm in for it. By the time they get to me, one has his hand on his taser. Another is in a football stance like he's getting ready to tackle me. And the third, a corporal, the supervisor, is nose to nose with me, yelling at me, was there a misunderstanding back there? He was doing that over and over.
Oh,
the first thing I said was, my attorney's on speakerphone. He hears everything. Mm-hmm. As soon as I said that, they all literally took a step back.
Whoa.
And
that was fortuitous.
Yeah, because it would have ended very badly if not for that presence of mind to call my attorney, and my attorney, thankfully, to be able to stay on the line with me, because they had bad intentions, no doubt. It either would have been hospital, death, or incarceration for something that I didn't do. And so when that happened, when I said my attorney's on speakerphone, they pretty much turned into like little boys that got their hand caught in the cookie jar, because what could they do at that point, right? They didn't want to go forward with what they were planning on doing because there was going to be a witness, and that witness was going to be an attorney. So that was the turning point for me. Unfortunately, it got a lot worse after that. I won't go into too much detail because I don't want to take up the whole rest of the show with it, but suffice it to say that I reported it to Internal Affairs, to Human Rights, and the NAACP. And when I did that, things started to get worse. Retaliation. And I wrote an article. I'm a journalist. I wrote an article to really get my feelings out, and and it's therapy for me, but I also did it because I was concerned about what if there was a 16-year-old black boy or a girl on the side of that road, and not a 48-year-old man who had been around the world and seen a bunch of stuff and been in the military and had friends in high places that he could call and all of that, right? What would have happened to that young person on the side of that road that day? And so I wrote a piece and I got thousands of responses from all over the country, and most of it was from Black mothers saying, "Thank you for writing something that I can use to share with my children, so I can have the talk with them, so that they can get home safe." And Joel, man, it broke my heart. It broke my heart. And I went to that police department and I said, "You know, guys, I just want an apology. I just want you to do better. Can we just get that?" And they refused. And then because of the investigation, because of the article and all of that, I started to get harassed, followed, stopped numerous times, too many times to count. They started to follow and stop my wife when she was driving, when I wasn't around. And I decided to make the film at that point. I decided to make a film to just really kind of blow the lid off everything that was happening, not only to me, but to so many other people. This was before George Floyd. This was before a lot of stories that were high profile in the news. And when I started to make that film, I got death threats for wanting to make a film about police brutality.
Wow. We're going to come back to that. We have Adongo. I hope I'm pronouncing your name correctly. I remember Malcolm X's autobiography, and he describes a St. Patrick's Day parade in South Boston. His father took him to, and he saw his first white person, a boy with red hair. So he reached out to touch the red-haired boy, and the boy's father slapped him. He never forgot that. Thank you, Adongo. And any thoughts on that, or I do have a follow-up.
Adongo, I just want to say I'm sorry that you had to experience that. And I hope that you have been able to process that. You know, Joel, I don't know if you know this, man, but you know, the ACEs, you know, adverse childhood experiences, it goes to a scale of 1 to 10. I've got 8 of them. And that story, you know, really moves me, because there's so many times in a young person's life that something like that will happen to them. And it's hard to let those things go. You know, those are the kinds of things that haunt you for years or decades or your entire life. And people, they don't understand how much damage they are doing with it. Doesn't have to be setting somebody's house on fire or shooting someone. It can be a slap, and someone can carry that, you know, for a long, long time. So I'm sorry that happened to you.
And Lonnie says racism is so embedded in our culture. It's institutionalized, both conscious and unconscious. So how can we change it? So far, nothing has worked. And under Trump, it's way out of control. What can be done? You know, this is a politics-free zone in this segment, or in this whole show. Every evening we do this. But I want you to take a look at this in terms of racism, and then I want us to take a look at the solution that you have developed for this, because I kind of look at this as like a ratchet wrench. You know, I don't know if I have an example. Well, I got this thing right here. So let's say this is a ratchet wrench, and I'm trying to loosen a bolt. And so I need to do what's known as the click, click, click before I can loosen the bolt. Many times people view the click, click, click as a negative part, or a useless part of the use of a ratchet wrench. But it's important, because then you can get purchase, you can really set yourself on that bolt and then loosen it. And I'm thinking in terms of dealing and addressing racism in our culture and any culture around the world, because it has to do with sin. It has to do with what's going on inside of us as broken human beings, and passed down generation to generation. But it's in us. It's in our human nature. And to talk about the pain, many times I've found that those of us with lighter hue, many times just want to immediately go to, well, I'm from Ireland, I'm from Wales, I'm from Scotland, I'm from France. None of my relatives in the past had any slaves or anything like that. So, you know, and immediately the eyes glaze over. of the person, brown or black. It's like, okay, I can only talk about sports. I might be able to talk about X, Y, and Z, but I know this is a topic we can't discuss. And so doing the click, 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 then take us into loosening the bolt of racism.
Well,
through what you are doing with Love is the Answer.
Yeah. So thank you for that. That's a great question. So, I went on to make that film, but it wasn't what people expected. And in fact, it wasn't what I expected. I spent 2.5 years trying to make a film about retribution because I just wanted to get people fired. And during that 2.5 years, God didn't let any doors open. I'm talking no doors, no financial support, no help from anyone, no one interested in it. Part of that was because of the timing. It wasn't on the news all the time. But the other part, I believe, was deeply spiritual and intending to put me on a certain path. And so as I'm going through that process of the click, 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 right, I'm learning a lot in those 2.5 years. I'm learning about what's making people tick and making them go into that kind of situation. I mentioned I have 8 out of 10 aces. I should be dead or in prison, or just completely just lost, right? So I learned that a lot of cops have PTSD just like I do as a military veteran. I learned that a lot of cops have a lot of aces just like I do. Those adverse childhood experiences, right? I learned that a lot of cops are not dealing with their pain, so they take it out on other people, or they abuse substances or their family, right? And because in the culture, just like in the military, you can't go and say you have mental health issues.
That's right.
Because they're going to take away your gun. They're going to take away your job. They're going to put you behind the desk.
Yeah.
Right. And you're not going to be able to go out there in the streets like you want to. You're not going to get promoted. Right. You're going to be shunned. That's part of the culture. Fortunately, it's starting to change. But that has been a big part of the culture. So I learned all these things in the 2.5 years, and it started to sink in a deep level before I even knew it. And so, can I say
something here just before you go forward?
Yeah.
Is that I remember you telling me that you went to some gentleman, I can't remember his name, but he said you're too angry. And then I think you're on Waikiki Beach in Hawaii, and that's when things began to click and open up for you. Am I correct in my memory?
So you're close. The first one, absolutely. Yes. So Chief Melvin Russell, who's in the film, Chief Melvin Russell was,
love him.
Oh man, incredible. He's my brother, man. He was a major in Baltimore when I first met him, and then he rose up the ranks to lieutenant colonel, and he became one of the 4 chiefs. And he did a lot of community work, right? Everybody loved Mel, and so I would call him, and I was so angry, man. I'd be like, "No, man, you wouldn't believe these," and so he would talk me down, but he wouldn't help. Like, he wouldn't come in and like let me interview him or anything like that, right? You're too angry. And so he would say, "Pray on it," and he'd say, "I love you," right? And that would just, okay, so maybe there's one that's not so bad, right? So I would go to him time and time again. And then when
he's black too. So
yes,
just for our listeners.
He's a black cop, and the community loves him. He loves the community. So summer of 2014, I decide that I'm going to get my life back because I hadn't been driving. I hadn't been doing the things that I love to do, going for walks and stuff like that. I was just frazzled, man, because this had really, really gotten to me. I was experiencing a lot of PTSD episodes, a lot of depression, a lot of anxiety. And I wound up going on a trip. I wound up taking a walkabout. I went through all 50 states, and I crowdfunded my way across the United States to all 50 states. I drove through 48 of those states. I played golf in every state because that's something I love to do. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to do everything I love to do. And God, if you get me through this, then we'll have a talk. But if I get stopped by a cop along the way, I don't know what I'm going to do. And I said that, out loud, like, and I went on this trip and I made it all the way across, and I'm in Hawaii on day 101, which was the target for me, because I created this whole wellness 101 concept that I was going to learn 101 things in 101 days. And so it was on my birthday, my 51st birthday, September 25th, 2014. I'm in the waters of Kailua Beach. So a little ways away from Waikiki, but on Oahu, and a beautiful, beautiful, peaceful beach in a residential community. And I'm standing there and I hear, just as plain as you're hearing me right now, I hear the words, if you want to change anything, you've got to love them, and you've got to teach them how to love.
Wow.
And Joel, man.
Whew.
Joel,
wow.
I feel the trade winds right now. I can taste the salt. I feel the water on my legs. And I remember that moment because the last words that my brother Abby said to me before he passed away in 1998 of cancer were, love is the answer. And those words came back to me with such a force, such an impact, that it changed everything about my life in that instant. And I knew at that moment that I had to forgive them. I knew at that moment that from that moment on, I had to make God a promise, man, that I was gonna teach people how to love. And at first I had to do that, though. I had to really, really dig deep and learn what love was. And this acronym came to me, being military, we love our acronyms. And so everything gets turned into an acronym. And so the word love by itself didn't mean a heck of a lot to me, because, I had a father who would beat my mom senseless and then come into my room and tell me that he loved me. Things like that just didn't add up, right?
You can love ketchup. You can love sunset. It has so many nebulous meanings to it. Yeah.
And so I had this like mistrust of the word, of the whole concept of it because of that. And so this acronym came to me: 4 action steps. Thank you, Air Force. Learn about people. Open your heart to their needs. Volunteer to be part of the solution in their lives, and empower others to do the same. And those 4 steps turned the word love into a series of action steps. And I was like, that's it. If we can just learn how to learn about people and feel for them, and then do something about it that's positive, that can help them, and then spread the word and empower others to do the same, maybe we can make this world a little bit better. And that's the journey that I started to go on September 25th, 2014. And I've been on that journey ever since.
Well, that film is powerful. And I want to encourage, what is the website for people to take a look at the film or get information about it?
Yeah, very simple. It's just walkingwhileblack.com. And you can see that film that I wanted to make into a retribution film that God turned into a reconciliation film. And we have a bunch of people in there, and half of them are cops or used to be cops. And it is pretty hard hitting. And I had a great team working with me on it. And it's lightning in a bottle. I mean, HBO told me that if they had tried to make that film, it would have cost them $2 million, and they wouldn't have come close to what we had. And it was all God, because there's no way that everything that happened in that film could have come together the way it did if not for God wanting it to make a difference in people's lives, including my own.
And listen, for our viewers, he does not blink. He tells the truth. He comes straight at it. and it provides a solution. It is a powerful piece of, here it is. That's the image about walking while black. Love is the answer. Abby's asking the question. We've got about maybe 5 minutes, 4.5 minutes left.
Good question.
But how do you love hatred? Tell me. Abby Rhodes.
Yeah.
Thank you for the question.
That is a great question, Abby, and I love your name as well. That was my brother's name. You know, it's hard. You know, I'm not going to say that it's easy. Sometimes it is really, really hard. And so I serve a God whose love for us is so powerful that no matter what I do, what I say, how many times I turn my back, he's right there for me and ready to forgive me. And so I'm not an advocate for allowing yourself to be beaten over the head over and over and over again. So if you're in an abusive relationship, for example, you know, you might want to get out of it. You might want to get yourself to a safe place, right? But I also believe that we are meant to love people to life, as Chief Mel often says, and that we should never give up on the power of love. I've seen it too many times. It's kind of hard to explain. You have to experience it for yourself, and I just encourage you to put it to the test, to live out those 4 principles. And hate can't stand up to love, and darkness flees when light enters the room. So, you know, I believe with all my heart, because I've seen it too many times. And if it wasn't that way, I'd be dead. I'm going to tell you straight up. And so I've seen it work too many times in my life to ignore it. And I just ask you to trust the process and live that out, and don't let anyone steal your joy, and love people to life. And love will win 100% of the time in the end. I'll guarantee you that.
Yeah, one thing I've kind of worked through is tried to figure out, can I come up with a definition of darkness without using the word light? And I found it to be impossible. Maybe one of our viewers has figured another way of defining darkness. Now, I'm not talking about describing it. I'm talking about defining it. Yeah. And it's just the absence of light. And when light comes on in a dark room, it doesn't say, please leave. And darkness says, oh, I'm in a corner, I'm not going to leave. You know, just boom, it's instant, because darkness is the absence of light. And I don't want us to sound, any of this to sound Pollyannish, because I go back to how you do not blink in making this film. You come straight at it.
It's hard hitting
toward uncomfortability. I mean, that's what I love about this film and what you're doing, AJ.
Yeah, it's we didn't pull any punches, you know.
No.
We had to come at it hard because it's a hard subject, you know, and we didn't want to give anybody any wiggle room.
No,
and because most of the stories that are, you know, super powerful in the film come from cops telling their truth, right? I'm talking about cops who admit what's going on in that system, including one guy who spent time in prison as a cop for doing things he shouldn't have done. And I mean, you got to see the film to understand their story. Andrew and Jamel, remember those 2 names. It's absolutely powerful. Talk about the power of love. That's something that I really hope Abby watches that film and sees that story in particular, and just have a box of Kleenex ready, because I think your spirit's going to be working overtime on that. There was another great question in the comments, Joel.
We've got to go. we only have about 10 seconds. If you can give your website again, and George, Lucas, and everyone else, we love you, appreciate you, thank you, but we cannot. What's your website again?
It's trylovenow.com, as in we've tried everything else. Try Love Now. I promise you it'll work.
And then the other one is walkingwhileblack.com, right?
That's for the film. Try Love Now is for the movement that the film birthed. That is going worldwide.
AJ, I cannot begin to thank you enough for coming on. This has gone by way too quick. I got more questions than you can imagine about, if you were in the presence of police chiefs, what were the first thing out of your mouth to them? But we can't talk about that right now. But on the chiefmischiefmaker.com, we have the link tree and the possibility of getting in touch with him. You're going to see his face as you go down the link tree. Just click on his face. He'll enjoy it very much. And then that'll take you straight to his website, walkingwhileblack.com. And then you can get in touch with him. And I'm sure you invite him to come speak, whatever. Next week, we have Delano Johnson. We're going to talk about the 9 points. 9 points of entrepreneurship and some of the ups and downs of being an entrepreneur. Ebity, that's all.
In a world where the questions were...
You have just experienced another episode of the Mischief Maker broadcast. Hit the subscribe button. Connect at chiefmischiefmaker.com. Thanks for coming along for the ride. And hopefully, you are now a bit closer to becoming a mischief maker in your part of the world.